Welcome back to the Gaming Bros podcast. My name is Spencer. I am joined by Jacob. We're going to talk about some video games and stuff.
And video game news. And video game movie.
Ooh, yeah,
and
video game movie.
everything video game ever. It's just all the video game.
We will talk about all of the games
We
ever.
even got video game trivia.
We do. As we have a slight change to the format of this show moving forward. We made an executive decision. So typically speaking, each one of us has a game review, which we will do split up by the month's worth of gaming and tech news in the middle. But we have decided to add on, if there is a video game film adaptation, we are going to cover that in the month that it releases, if at all possible. And in the times when there are not, we will be working through that massive backlog of basically all dog shit video game movies, because it'll be fun.
Dibs next month, if there isn't a video game movie, that we do the latest Resident Evil movie, because I watched it recently and I was pleasantly surprised.
I've also heard some people were kind of surprised by it, so I would definitely agree with that. I think working backwards might be a good idea, just because that came out like 2 months ago, so we could just roll backwards. But we also start off with a little bit of trivia, or a trivia question, that is, a bit of a thinky think for someone else, for the other co-host to think about.
It gets our gray matter moving before we start talking for 2 hours.
The little bit of gray matter that we have left. During the production or pre-production of the Uncharted film, which has been in production since 2008.
Oh, man.
There was another actor who was approached to be cast as Nathan Drake before Tom Holland got the role. This is not the widely screamed for fan casting of Nathan Fillion, because he does serve as the visual model for Nathan Drake in-game, as well as has the personality and all that fun shit. It is not him. He was not approached for this film for various other reasons. But there was another actor who was approached and ended up declining. Who would that be? They are a very marketable big name.
I saw a list of actors. I was actually looking it up when I was at the movie, because holy shit, Regal does a literal 20 minutes of commercials before the movie starts. I was getting pissed. I was really huffy in the middle of the viewing. I want to say a couple. I'm pretty sure Willem Dafoe. I'm pretty sure Channing Tatum. Maybe even Benedict Cumberbatch. I don't remember. Those are 3 of my first couple guesses. And you can confirm or deny later in the show. But speaking of Uncharted.
Transition.
So I gotta apologize up front. I had a rough gaming month. I tried to find a nice golden nugget, a nice golden trinket, you might say, to talk about for this show. And I didn't really find a gold trinket. It was more like a couple of bronze, not even copper, definitely bronze coins, like all rusted over. It wasn't great. But the first one was Uncharted Lost Legacy, a DLC, basically, that was made with the same engine that Uncharted 4 was made in. It came out a little bit after Uncharted 4, and it was marketed it had an odd marketing to it. It was marketed as a DLC, but it wasn't too long afterwards that it was released on its own disc. And I had a hard time finding out how big it was, how long it would take to beat it. And I was a little sketched out because it was being sold for $40. And I was like, for DLC, I don't think so. So I waited a long time. And I picked it up for $20 on disc. So I really appreciate that it brings back Chloe from Uncharted 2, I believe. It also has Nadine from Uncharted 4. So the two ladies pair up and they are in India, which was another thing that I really liked about this game. It's a different setting from the other Uncharted games, and they really embraced the aesthetic, the Indian aesthetic. It looked nice. There were lots of colors in the market, and the biome, I guess, the plants and trees and everything look different. There's this one level where you come up on a herd of elephants. You actually free a baby elephant with air quotes because it's still huge compared to the player characters, and you just spend time with the herd of elephants for a minute, and it's really cool. It's just something different from the South American setting that most of the Uncharted's have. I liked that the story was 9 chapters. It's a complete story. It's not necessarily short, and I'll get into that, but it's shorter than a full game. I like that they had an idea and they went with it, and they didn't pad it out to make it a full game, because they definitely could have done that and that would have sucked. I like that they kept it to 9 chapters, and I believe I played it in 5 or 6 hours. So that's a significant DLC. Oh. I lied. My notes say I spent 20 hours on it.
What?
I don't know. It was more than a typical 2-hour DLC. It was chunky.
So it's that nice. It's that awkward. It's another one of those awkward in the middle of. They said it was a DLC, but then because it started as a DLC, but then they sell it differently because it's a little bigger, but it's not like an expansion.
Yeah, it was
like a world game. It's one of those weird ones.
It was one of those weird DLCs, kind of like The Witcher, where it's like it's basically another game when you compare it to anything else on the market, but it's just DLC. So it's really weird. The 4th level, I'm going to compare to the Silent Cartographer because it's very much, it felt like that level of Halo so much. After 3 levels of like follow the thing, climb the thing, shoot the guys, it opens up and you have this big place to explore and many objectives to do and many optional objectives to do. And level 4 took about 1/3 of my time in the whole game. It was so huge. It was literally 3 play sessions for me to finish that level.
Ugh,
so
that's rough.
Yes and no. It gives you a map and it checks off where you've been and when you've finished the objectives, and it gives you a really important trinket that acts as a warning when you're near all the other trinkets, so it makes collecting so much easier, but you had to put in the work to get that trinket. So very, very solid level. The climbing and cover system in this game broke me. And I want to say I just had nostalgia for Uncharted 4. It probably had the same issues and I just don't remember it. But I almost stopped playing because I was so frustrated with trying to climb and it would just jump off a cliff, or jump into cover and it didn't and I would die, or get out of cover and run away and it would stay stuck to the wall. It was just like
it feels very strange saying nostalgia for Uncharted 4 because it feels like yesterday when that came out.
Right. And I think it's just because it was such an epic climactic finish, as far as we know, for Nathan Drake. It was so good. that it was just automatically a classic.
True. Very, very true.
It's such a tough product to sell because it's the kind of sort of DLC that we've already talked about. It's just difficult to explain what it is and try to sell it for $40, especially when you release it on a separate CD. And it's just one of those weird DLC things. The CD came bundled with Uncharted Forest multiplayer, which I didn't even touch on this playthrough because I'm sure that's pretty much dead by now. I kind of wish that it had come with something a little extra instead. A challenge mode, an arcade mode, speed run mode, extra tombs, or something to make the $40 worth it. Like, it was stuck in such a weird limbo. They should have either done a cheaper, like $25, $30 DLC just for the story, or $40 and it comes with some lesser distraction from the story besides Uncharted Forest multiplayer. As it is, it's 9 great chapters. I got it for $20, worth it. And it's to the point that I can understand why they tried for 40, but again, depending on how much of an Uncharted fan you are, I can kind of understand $40 now that I've played through it all. But it was only 9 chapters and I felt kind of cheated. And that was, I don't know, 10 minutes of review. And I wanted something a little bit more, especially after last month's review, because that's probably my favoriteest review done by me ever. So wow. I downloaded Layers of Fear from my Steam library. It's been sitting there for a long, long time. And it is made by Bluebird Team, who also made Observer. Fans, longtime fans of our dimecomicbros podcast may have heard when I was ranting and raving about that more than a year ago now, which is surprising because a walking simulator is not my cup of tea usually. I was very surprised by Observer, so I was like, yeah, I'll try Layers of Fear. The story is you're a painter in the 1900s-ish, maybe give or take 20 years. You hear a little story blurb with a black screen. I really thought my computer had glitched or something. And then you walk into your house, and that's when the black screen goes away and you can actually see. And you just start exploring your house, trying to piece together what has happened and what is happening. I don't want to get into the story any more than that because it's a walking sim. You're trying to put the story together. That's the point of the game. Holy crap. This is one of very, very few horror titles that made me really uncomfortable with its story. It's very disturbing. Everything that could be wrong is. I had several times where I was like, that is fucked up. Like, it's bad. And it's like, I'm trying to think of an example. I'd probably say like Stephen King, maybe, but worse, because he's got some relief, some high points, like in The Shining. I haven't made it all the way through the book, but that one really disturbed me because it's like, it felt like every single chapter mentions suicide, and it's very intentional in its writing to make you feel claustrophobic, and you feel the degradation in Jack's relationship with his wife and his kid and whatever, his sanity. But there's still a couple of points where Jack's son is just exploring the hotel and it's fun and light, or Jack will, sits down to write and is making progress. There's relief there. Whereas this one, there's just nothing. It just gets darker and darker and darker all the time. I took offense at how many jump scares there were, but that's mostly because they got me every time. And I'm usually really good at not jumping at jump scares. So it was like, it pissed me off each time. The walking simulator part of it is you tour the house same, and then something happens, and then you tour the house, and every time you take a tour of the house, things get weirder and weirder and more messed up each time. And so that means you have to run the house gauntlet 6 times to finish the game.
Oof, that's rough.
Maybe even 8 times. I don't remember.
Ooh.
With 3 possible endings. By the end, I had no idea how puzzles were even supposed to start. I just found something, like I found a Ouija board, and I was like, okay. And it had everything there and like no hint of what to highlight at all. I didn't see anything in the room. I didn't see anything in the hallways leading up to the room. I had no idea, but it turned out to be optional, and I just skipped it. And there were a couple of puzzles where it was optional. I just skipped it because I just wanted to be done. Partly because I was so uncomfortable, but also because, as far as I could tell, there were no saves. Like, obviously, it had the loading logo after each run of the gauntlet, but I had no idea if I quit out, if it would bring me back to like basically halfway through the game that I've already run, or if it would restart or whatever, and I didn't want to lose my progress. So I had to play the whole game in one sitting because I didn't want to lose my progress. It took me 2.5, 3 hours, I think, to beat it. It's tough to review because it didn't do it for me. I had pieced together most of the story, felt like I had missed something. So I hit up YouTube and I was doing some research, and yeah, I missed a couple of little things, but nothing major like what it felt like. After, watching the whole story on YouTube, I was like, yeah, still feel like I missed something, but that could just be I'm thick. One thing I know I missed was the ending. I ran around the house. It dumps you back in the normal house at the end of the game after you've run the gauntlet. And I did the house like 3 or 4 times, upstairs and downstairs, and I couldn't figure it out. And I was like, maybe that's just the end. And I quit out and uninstalled it before I could figure out what the real ending was. There was one object I had to interact with, and that was the end. So whatever. I'm never going to play this again. This is for horror fans. It does horror really well. I was unnerved. It's also for walking sim fans or veterans. If either of those apply to you, I would suggest $10 for regulars, $15, which is, I'm pretty sure is the asking price usually on Steam, if you'll replay it. If both of those worlds apply to you, full price is understandable, definitely, because there's 3 endings and there's a lot of story to piece together. You're not going to get it all in one run. No way. I got it for free because Humble Bundle was giving it away a couple of years ago, and I just picked it up like that. So for a free title, I can't complain. Also, I got the second game for free from Epic a couple of months ago. So I'm probably going to install that and review it on here at some point. So that has been my month of gaming.
See, I feel like we need to make you do exclusively walking sim reviews and then me exclusively horror reviews, so we both kill ourselves.
That sounds like our show would be a limited release.
Oh, special edition.
There'd be nobody to take over for us when we're dead.
Well, then we could just have Colin hop on, every 5 minutes and talk about like Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing.
I played the new map on Halo Infinite.
Ooh, I mean, that's what I'd be doing if I wasn't talking to you, but
I talked about Uncharted, and we charted a common topic together, didn't we?
we charted the course, and it turned out to be very painful. So Uncharted, which is literally the name, it's a movie adaptation, sort of, that came out this month, in fact, the month of February, which is supposedly sort of a prequel, but it's very much so not. It was directed by Ruben Fleischer from a screenplay by Raphael Lou Judkins, Art Markham, and Matt Holloway, which was partially developed by a film division of Naughty Dog, which is a new subdivision, and was also put out by Sony Pictures. So I'll lead on this one then. Give your poor voice a second. So I like Uncharted. I am an Xbox boy, so it took me a long time to get to Uncharted. I have no nostalgia for it. I just really appreciate it, mostly from a storytelling angle. I find most of the gameplay to be solid, but it from a character standpoint is far more interesting. I think the mass market appeal of like the game franchise of basically being Indiana Jones, but what if he was dog shit at his job? Which I appreciate, but like the big explosions and the cave hunting or whatever, that's what like the games are advertised on. I enjoy that. That's a genre, I guess, of storytelling I like. But I mostly like the games for their character interactions and the character progression. That stuff is way more interesting, and I think their writing really leans to it. And this movie did none of that for me. It is a big dumb blockbuster in basically all ways, which is what I was expecting. But I didn't hate it. But this is like aggressively mid, which is, I guess, good for a video game movie.
I'm laughing because we're pretty much on the same page.
Holy shit.
I went in with a hate boner and came out like, it's kind of not bad unless you're coming from the video games.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of normies are gonna like this movie. But having played everything Uncharted, including the PS Vita title, and enjoying them, it's really tough to not critique every single thing in this movie.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. It's because I'm not like a diehard, I have no issue with the let's not like tonally follow and we'll do kind of our own thing. Like I have no qualms with that if you're doing it for a reason. I don't get like really offended by the castings or whatever. It's just it leans into a few of my pet peeves currently, one of which is Tom Holland's childlike American accent, which I knew we've discussed this, I think, on air on a previous podcast at some point, is a serious anger point of mine. His like grown up, grown ass man American accent is totally fine. I quite like it, but he's still doing the Spider-Man voice in this movie, even though he's supposed to be like 22. Like he's the character of Nathan Drake in this movie is roughly as old as Tom Holland is, but they kind of tell him to tone it to like be more nervous and goofy, and that's
very much like Rick from Rick and Morty.
Kind of, and I don't understand why, because I don't hate Tom Holland as a casting for a Nathan Drake Uncharted 1 era. I don't have a problem with that. I think it's a little different. I think he needs a little bit more dirt in his hands, but like that's fine. And I like the idea of Dirty Dirty, it's a prequel kind of, so he's different. I don't have a problem with that, but it basically turns into Tom Holland just playing Spider-Man without the suit in terms of the character, and I don't like that on a character level. It's not Nathan Drake, but it's not really anything interesting. So I think that makes it really boring.
I think one of the things they did to try to step around that and make it so it's not exactly Peter Parker in an Uncharted movie. They spent a lot of time with him shirtless and like showing off his bod and how he's put on a lot of muscle. And it was, you don't see that a lot in Spider-Man. It felt like they were trying to make him a beefcake, even though he's bigger than I am, but he's not like freaking Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, and I think on that level, I do appreciate Tom Holland's casting in the sense that he does most of his own stunt work, and I think that stuff was excellent.
Yep.
Like, so there are very clearly two different types of action sequences in this movie. We have actual choreographed fights and like escape sequences and so on, which I did think, not in terms of directing, but in terms of choreography and performances, were actually really good. Particularly on Tom Holland's part. He had a lot of fun, particularly the scene in the bar. That was great. But the rest of them, and especially the climax, is just CGI fuckfest. Like they literally rip the finale of the fourth game and just stick it at the end of this movie. And it's like, basically once I saw the plane sequence in the trailers, that's when I realized this is not what I wanted it to be. And I'm okay with that, I guess. It's just, I don't like that distinction. If Nathan Drake, his archetype is Indiana Jones, but shit, you know, he has the same predilections, but he's kind of incompetent. It makes for some good visual comedy sometimes, but he's still like not like a baby man. And that's kind of what he comes across as in this. Physically, he's way too competent for what he's like emotionally portrayed as. He's extremely acrobatic. He's clearly very strong. He's like Tom Holland in real life. That's cool. But the personality doesn't really glean much for it. He doesn't have much of a background in anything. And it just feels weird.
I don't remember all right, I gotta word this weird. You said the finale was basically ripped from Uncharted 4. I don't remember the pirate ships flying through the air, and I was actually going to say that it felt like a lot of the action sequences, besides the airplane cargo crate thing, were unique. The cathedral going under the city and through the city, that I don't remember that really being in any game. The pirate ships flying through the air as the final battle, that felt pretty cool. I guess what I'm saying is that they didn't just take action sequences from the games and make it a movie, kind of like how I felt with the Tomb Raider movie with Alicia Vikander. Like that felt like, yeah, I just watched the first Tomb Raider reboot as a movie.
So I didn't mean the pirate ship part. I meant more like the chase sequence, but yeah, still. I see what you mean, and I it's fine, I guess. It's just I don't know. It something feels kind of crappy about that, and frankly, just because COVID has completely fucked how movies are made right now, I'm not going to complain too much about like the CG being bad, but this movie is very boring in terms of visual aesthetic. It's a Ruben Fleischer film, so he's like the most safe studio, has no personality director on the planet. That's fine, I guess. But like, there's no set dressing. Even the really practical sequences are very clean and tidy, and they're in a lot of clean and tidy locations. Even like the actual dirty caves and shit, they still look like sets. And that might have had something to do with so they could do the CG easier, because it takes a lot less work, to CG something with less texture on it. But This feels like it's a really expensive movie, but it's not impressive. It just feels expensive. Like a really, really high budget TV show, but like on a network. So not like a streaming exclusive, but like this feels like a really expensive Walking Dead episode or like something like that.
Something that I'm sure is just going to set up for you to dive off from. I got a bad feeling from the directing anyway. There were some rough cuts, like the opening has Nathan Drake hanging from the cargo that's hanging outside of the plane, and then it cuts to the past, and then to present day. And I was like, what? Where's the airplane then? If we're in the now of the timeline, it felt like they were just leaving that behind, and they eventually wrapped around to it at, Deadpool 1 style. But
you're probably wondering how I got into this situation.
I laughed out loud at the end of the movie because one of the bad guys in the middle of the island cave was at the bottom at next to the buried pirate ships, and then all of a sudden he was piloting the plane that picked up the pirate ship. There were just some really bad cuts and goofs like that it was like, oh, that's rough. Like, yeah.
It feels very slapdash, even though it's been like the script has been rewritten 1,000 times since I was in like elementary school.
Right.
If you don't want to do something like unique on like a character or story level, that's fine. You just have to make it really interesting on a plot level. You make the set pieces actually good and very visually interesting. They clearly have a lot of effort put into them. You can make it just a spectacle movie, but your spectacle has to be good. Like, that's okay, but this kind of does neither. The story and characters are aggressively mediocre, and they barely feel like their counterparts in the games. And also the spectacle is kind of meh.
So on characters, I really appreciated that Chloe was in it. They did a really nice job. She was casted well. She played the part really well. There were a lot of backstabs and in the whole story, and that's expected. That's how Chloe operates. But I think it was cheapened by the relationship that Nate and Sully have in this movie. Sully backstabs everybody several times, and that never happens in the games as far as I can remember. Like, Nate and Sully are tight. They trust each other like all the time, implicitly, to a fault sometimes.
I think that's where this movie was trying to go with the prequel aspect of like, this is how they came to trust it. I agree.
Because it cheapens everything. It cheapens Chloe's character because you can't trust anybody. This isn't an X-Files movie. This is Uncharted.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing that kind of made me exhausted by the end of the runtime. Is it's just backstab, back. Like, this is one of my favorite like types of movie. I like treasure hunting movies. They're usually schlock. I like it, but when the only character who's remotely like good in any sense is Nate, it doesn't mean anything. Sully having an arc, it means nothing because it's not given that much emotional weight, and because he's like everybody else. Like, if he's given a choice, but if you either know the greater context of the games, 99%, like, this is a safe movie in basically all ways. So they're not going to make Sully actually be a bad guy in the end. He's going to come around. So the choice has no weight to it. But the movie doesn't even pretend like he's going to actually make the choice to take the gold. Like, no, I don't know. It's very frustrating. And also the fact that I don't like Mark Wahlberg very much. in any aspect really doesn't help it because he's not acting here because Mark Wahlberg can't act. He is Mark Wahlberg, a guy from Boston, and Sully in this movie is kind of dog shit.
There was definitely at least one time in the movie where his accent came out of nowhere and it was like, what? Come on.
He's the guy you call when you need someone to be like, hey, like, I don't know what the fuck accent I'm trying to do, but like he's Mark Wahlberg. Everyone knows what he does, and that's fine. He's a very typecast guy, and he seems to like that, I guess. And he doesn't seem
really
to try to break out of
he-
the typecasting in this movie at all.
I wish he could have come around because he could have been okay as Sully.
Yeah, he could have
Not
been
my
fine.
choice, but
No.
he could have been good at it. As it is now, it's not good.
Yeah, and then the post-credit scene with him having a mustache purely for the sake of OMG, guys, look, it's a mustache was some of the most cringe-inducing shit I've seen all year.
I think it was for the puberty crack, and that pissed me off in the advertising. That only feeds back to Tom Holland acting younger than what his character should
Guys,
be.
he's like 24. It's fine. Let him be 24. He has age lines. It's okay.
As a pretty big fan, self-proclaimed fan of the video games, I really wish that they had Elena in this movie because that would have added so much depth. I mean, she's in the opening scene of the first game as an interest. So Nathan doesn't really get along with her in the first game. She's just tagging along and is being an annoying nudge. But then in the second game, that's part of the conflict of Chloe is like, she's hot, but crazy and backstabs you all the time. But
she's hot.
So
yeah.
That's just another layer that's missing from Chloe's character. It's,
I think kind of in that vein, one of the reasons why the protagonists, if you can call them all protagonists, I guess, lacking in anything really shines through is because the villains just fucking suck.
Yeah.
Antonio Banderas, for once in his life, is not chewing scenery, and I can't stand it. If you're gonna make him a stupid, hokey villain, just let him do it. And he kind of wasn't like he was in a sense of Antonio Banderas cannot do subtle acting to save his life, but like this is about as subtle as it's ever gonna get with him. Like let him just be batshit crazy, and that's fine. But the multiple villain switches and all the protagonists are all kind of antagonists bullshit. I hate it. I hate that. It's stupid and boring. Like, let the characters be people or make it an absolute camp fest.
There were so many quips in this movie. I did not react to any of them. And I was paying attention to the full movie theater around me, and I heard one chuckle once. Like, I think that's pretty clear, in my opinion, that even the writing was rough. Like, if you can't get a movie theater to laugh at all your quips, maybe you're doing something wrong.
And movie theaters are the place where people laugh at shitty jokes. So
yeah,
I agree with that. None of them, most of them weren't like cringe-inducing, to be fair. Like,
yeah, I disagree.
There were definitely some, but it felt I don't know. It was very clear. I hate the term. I'm going to use it though. I hate the marvelized quip type of humor. I hate it. I've kind of always hated it, but it infiltrating other movies is atrocious and obnoxious, and I don't like it because it has none of the charm of actually being a Marvel movie. But it was present, but it didn't piss me off in this movie. Like, I knew it wasn't going to be funny. This movie started being written when I was a child. It has had like 5 people cast, quote unquote, as its lead. It's had 5 different directors. It's had 4 different Sullys. This shit is not going to be funny. I'm lucky if it's going to be like good. So like I wasn't expecting to laugh, and because I walked in with such piss poor expectations, I guess I didn't find it like offensively unfunny. The cat was cute, I guess. That's all I got.
Yeah.
The visual comedy I thought was okay.
I was more impressed by Tom Holland's bartending skills. He put a lot of work in that.
He actually did go learn how to bartend, and that was pretty cool. Like he went and worked at a bar for like a month or whatever. That was pretty cool. But
I had one more point. Wait for it.
Oh, the actual post-credit scene, that's the quote-unquote important one, makes me want to like put a drill in my ears. It's basically just undermining half of the emotional weight of the movie, going, actually, his brother Sam is alive. Ha ha ha. See, when the games did that, I guess, spoilers, not really. The game's been out forever. Like, it worked because there had been a lot of time put into it. Same thing for the very rare times where Sully doesn't side with Nate or whatever. There's a lot of time and energy put into that. Versus this is like, you're undermining 2 hours worth of work tops. Fuck you. Like, what you really expect to get a big like cheer for that? The game fans would assume it's either coming or you're going to do it eventually, and then the normies don't care because you haven't made them care in this movie, like emotionally. So it doesn't mean anything.
I would say my favorite part from the whole movie was the scene at the auction house when Sully hires Nathan to just create a distraction, and they plan on Nathan Drake cutting the power to the place, and that doesn't work. He's interrupted, so he swings from these weird ass light bulbs hanging from the ceiling. That felt like there was a lot of practical effects in it, and it looked good, and it was fun to watch. So yeah, that was the highlight of the movie for me.
I think I would agree with that. It was either that one or that short sequence in the bar. That's about it.
True story.
Like it's fine.
Right. And that's what I was gonna get into next, is like, I'm never gonna buy it.
No. Oh fuck no. This,
like, not even in a Walmart $5 bin bucket. No, thank you.
I would certainly put it in the upper echelon of video game movies, but I don't appreciate it enough on like any element to purchase it unless I have a need to. I don't know why the hell I would ever need to buy it, but
if you get the pre-order bonus with the ring on the leather strap,
no. I don't know. Like if it's like, I don't know, if someone's like, oh, here's a ultraviolet code, I guess I'll take it if it's digital and free. But like, maybe I'll watch it if I want to watch shitty video game movies. Like if I'm drunk or I'm like really sick and I want to like laugh because of shit, maybe then.
I was thinking about that in the movie theater when I hit the bathroom after the movie. I was like, the only time I will watch this again is if I'm like at a friend's house drinking and they're like, we're going to watch this movie. Like, I'll sit on the couch and view it with you, I guess, but I'll also be drinking and not care as much.
Same. Whilst I agree with your qualm, I guess, with the Tomb Raider reboot movie that did basically just copy paste its action sequences from the game, I think that's a much better movie than this.
It's also just
better put together.
I've only seen it once, but it's just more visually stimulating, and it's not because of its lead. The setting, the world is more interesting to look at. Even the freaking bicycle race in the opening is more interesting to look at than most of Uncharted.
I think the one strong element, I guess, or redeeming quality about this is clearly Tom Holland was using his producer credit to a lot of like effort. He was really involved in this behind the scenes, and I felt like I could kind of tell he's clearly invested, but he's getting some pretty piss poor direction, and he's got a mediocre script at best, and he's definitely going ham on the action sequences and the stunts, but
I really wish we could ever know like how much life he breathed into this project.
Probably a lot. Once the studio went, hey, we have a bankable movie star that already works for us, we should throw him in this thing. Also, just the general thing that Nathan Drake's not really supposed to be like super hot, and Tom Holland's like pretty hot. That's annoying. Minor qualm I personally find agitating of we have to make everyone really pretty. It bothers me. Like Nathan Drake's not ugly, but he's supposed to be like really good looking normal dude. You know? Like he's in shape, but he's not like an absolute slab of meat. He's like good looking, but he's not like holy shit, this guy should be an action movie star. Unlike Tom Holland, who's by I would say most people's measures pretty damn good looking.
Nathan Drake is very ruggedly handsome.
Sure. That's what we all want to be called. I was okay for 2 hours, but that's it.
I kind of hope it does well with the normies.
It looks like it is. It's making a lot of money.
I was shocked that it was packed when I went. So, sure. Like, if it can get funding for a second one, hopefully that one can outshine its original.
Won't be hard, but please just put the budget into like a better writer or 5 instead of boats and pirate ships. Please, God, stop with the giant CGI set pieces. Stop it. So shall we dive feet first, very carefully and safely into the news for this month of February?
You dive feet first. I'll dive in head first.
Oh, okay.
No, nice. Come on.
Oh, nice. Dude, I'm stupid.
From Bloomberg.com, Activision Blizzard Incorporated will delay a Call of Duty game that has been planned for next year, the first time the franchise will be without an annual mainline release in nearly 2 decades, according to people familiar with the plan. The company is pushing off the release after a recent entry in the series failed to meet expectations. That's a nice way of putting it, leading some executives to believe that they're introducing new versions too rapidly, said the people who asked not to be identified because they weren't authorized to discuss the deliberations. The decision was not related to Activision's agreement to sell itself to Microsoft Corporation for $69 billion, the people said. Last year's entry, Call of Duty Vanguard, failed to meet Activision's sales expectations, leading executives to suspect that it had been cannibalized by the previous year's game. A free-to-play version released in 2020, Call of Duty Warzone, remains a massive success and may have drawn players away from the premium entries. When I made the 69 joke, I did not realize that it would be in the article. That's points on me.
You're just that good. I'm almost excited about this if I gave a shit. I'm vaguely interested because another game that was kind of ruined by annual releases and then took a 1-year break, Assassin's Creed, that almost brought it back from the brink before it fucking killed itself again. And I think that's one of the largest problems with COD, isn't it? The monetization's bad, the community's trash, blah, blah. Yes, all those things. But the fact that almost everyone agrees every single year is very little new content, and most of it gets rolled out post-release anyway, is really bad. Like Modern Warfare 2020 and Warzone, which launched alongside it, which is the Battle Royale game, is that they're both really good. Like I don't like Battle Royale, but Warzone is good. And those two were great. Modern Warfare got the new engine, like the whole 9 yards. And then the next year they reverted back to the old engine. The game was kind of mid at best. The multiplayer was crap and the campaign was good. And then Vanguard was bad on like all fronts. Again, it's like, guys, you just, because this year is supposed to be the sequel to Modern Warfare. It's just, the weird cycle they're on right now is because also along with Cold War and Vanguard, they also released more stuff for Warzone. It's really weird how they've made this thing go. I take like 5 years, please, for the love of God. Chill the fuck out. You have like 5 studios that work on Call of Duty games. There are 3 major studios that alternate every 3 years. Like, just chill.
What they need to do is take 2 years, they make Call of Duty Ghosts 2, and they base it in Ukrainagud and Rashinabad.
I'm gonna pull a you. Keep your politics out of my video games. Although that would be ballsy. Holy shit.
That sounded weird because Spencer muted himself, so you didn't hear him laughing.
I wouldn't call it laughing. It was more like nervous squeaking, I think. Oh goodness. Although making it another Ghost game would be great, because I swear I'm the only one who liked Ghosts when it came out, and I still do. But that's neither here nor there.
I didn't mind the story, but the multiplayer sucked.
I like the multiplayer.
It was awful. It was designed for snipers. They were such open maps, except for like that one that was in a nightclub on top of the building.
That was
really good for zombies.
That was a fun zombies map, but yeah.
Or infected or whatever.
Whatever. I'm tired of Call of Duty. I've been tired of Call of Duty basically since they announced that they were going to continue with annual releases after like Modern Warfare. That revitalized my interest, and then they killed it again.
I still love the new Modern Warfare, and you can publish this. I'm still mad at my brother for selling his Xbox because that was our copy of Modern Warfare. So now I need to find another copy.
Haha. Get owned. It's mine now, bitches. Yeah, that's all I got. Yeah, it's Call of Duty, whatever. From Engadget.com, the much lauded action RPG Nier Automata is being developed into an anime series. Square Enix has announced a teaser trailer shows a potential glimpse of how it will look and not much else. And the developers also tweeted an image of the lead character 2B and her pod companion robot. It appears that the story will closely follow the plot of the original game. Quote, the stage is a distant future in which human beings are routing to the moon in front of the overwhelming force of machine life forms that aliens unleash, end quote, according to the developer's blog post. Quote, the 2B belonging to the newly organized android unit, Yorha, will put himself into a fierce battle to recapture the Earth, end quote. I have not played this. I want to. I've heard a lot. I don't know why they're making this into a series, though, because the thing made no money. So that's weird.
So out of 10, I've got like 4 points of interest. It's like almost enough to care, but not quite. So it's a really rough series to get into because Nier Automata was a sequel to a game from like old PS3. It was almost PS2. Like if you look up how the original Nier played, it looks really rough. Nier Automata was interesting. It was kind of bullet hell. It was kind of like Bayonetta, hack and slash, or Devil May Cry because they're the same thing. I played it for like a little bit. It felt like the levels were so open and bare. I want to compare it to like Final Fantasy games or even like an MMO kind of, like really, really big maps with not a whole lot in it. You spend a lot of time running, not looking up to be skirt. So that was okay. Everything was fine. It wasn't gelling with me yet. And then I found a boss that completely one-shotted me and I was like, I missed something and uninstalled it. I'll go back eventually. But that's my experience with Nier Automata. I'm confused about how they're making this an anime series because I don't know if you care about spoilers or not, but as far as I understand it, Nier Automata, all the characters are dead. You're playing in the afterlife purgatory or something. So
hey, they're gonna pull a Lost. Ooh.
That's the reason in game to play New Game Plus or whatever, because it unlocks the story, and I think there's other things that happen at the end of New Game Plus as like the true ending. I've also watched interviews with the creator. I don't remember his name, but the dude is very odd. He wears a helmet, hiding his face in all the interviews. And I don't know, the dude is whacked. He makes whacked games. It's cool that people appreciate his art form. So much that I've seen, it's not for me.
Huh.
That's where I'm at.
Strange.
The art style in the teaser look pretty cool though. After 6 years and 2 updates, Capcom is finally moving on from Street Fighter V, which is good because it's broken, and has officially announced Street Fighter 6. As teased through a countdown website, Capcom has officially announced Street Fighter 6 following the end of the Capcom Pro Tour fighting game exhibition. The countdown was supposed to end at 9 p.m. PST, but remained locked until the end of the stream. Capcom says more info for Street Fighter 6 is coming this summer. The short teaser revealed a beefed up Ryu
I think it's Ryu
Hadouken as he faces Luke, the 45th and final character for Street Fighter V, who was teased to be in the sequel. The announcement for Street Fighter 6 also coincided with the 35th anniversary of the franchise. Street Fighter 6 will be developed without the involvement of longtime Street Fighter producer Yoshinori Ono, who left Capcom last year after almost 30 years with the company.
So I like fighting games, but I also hate fighting games. I hate their communities, and I hate how everything is like the skill ceiling is absurdly high, but the floor is also really high because I'm a scrub. I like playing old Mortal Kombat. I like new Mortal Kombat campaign-wise. That stuff's great, but not really a big fan. Never really liked Street Fighter. Teaser looked interesting. I haven't played 5 whatsoever. All I keep hearing about is how busted it is. So probably a good thing to just cut your losses and move on. It's been a fair few years.
I tried Street Fighter V a couple of years ago, and it was plastered with in-game ads, and load times were awful, and I don't know, it just rubbed me the wrong way, and I never went back. Because honestly, I'd rather Mortal Kombat or Injustice. It's basically the same engine, but the Street Fighter mythos doesn't grab me as much as the other two. Like, there's some fantasy things that involve the character's movements that I just don't like. It seems more like Street Fighter, the objective is to juggle more so than Injustice or Mortal Kombat. And I really, really, really hate being juggled.
Yeah, not a fan, but we'll see how this goes. From Engadget.com, it looks like Netflix is headed to Rapture. And I just came. The company says it's teaming up with 2K and Take-Two Interactive for a film adaptation of the BioShock series. No other details are available as of yet, but based on the image Netflix shared in its announcement, it wouldn't be a surprise to see it tackling the first game. Okay, here's why I think this is actually going to be good. I'm going to go for it. Because the games, BioShock, none of the 3 games, in my opinion, are actually unique as games. The storytelling, in the actual storytelling, how the story plays out, you can do it in other mediums. I think it would be less effective, but the only real thing in the first game for sure that is relevant is the major twist. And that's about it. And that you can get away with pretty easily, I think, with still having a protagonist. And you can even do a silent protagonist in a movie, which I would love.
Can you repeat that again? The only thing about this game, something, is the twist?
Yeah, just the twist. That's something I will not discuss on it. That's a spoiler that no one should hear.
Right.
But like, there's nothing else about it that's unique to it being a game. I would argue the game. I do love the gameplay, but I think almost everything in it you can do, admittedly in less depth, in another medium. differently, of course. It's more interesting because you can explore it and find the audio logs and get all of the environmental storytelling. But the base story itself and the setting, there's nothing terribly unique about it being a game.
I want a caveat on that, in that I'm pretty sure BioShock 1 is one of the first games, or is the game that popularized the audio logs playing as you played the game, like which is always in the background.
Yes, which is one of my favorite additions to those. It's also one of the only games that did audio logs really well. I would argue all 3 games. Aside from that,
I think that used to be unique to that game, and then everybody did it.
Oh, for sure. But like the rest, like the story itself, what about it is like unique to it being a game? It's nothing about you having control or like whatever. It's the setting, the story, the characters, and all the interactions. You will do it in less depth because it's less time. Duh. And some of the twists will have to get rearranged and whatever. But like this is like the perfect thing for a film from a video game standpoint, almost as much as Uncharted. Like this, no. If this is bad, I don't know how the hell they're gonna fuck it up. Like this is very straightforward.
Netflix will find a way.
Oh, they'll always find a way. I know. But like, come on. It's like the definition of a cinematic game. You can almost just do the stupid, I'm going to watch the cutscenes and call it a movie type shit. Like, come on. This is great. Also, BioShock.
Anyways. A pretty unique setting too. Like, I can't. There were a lot of movies in the 90s, I'll say 80s and 90s that were underwater. But it's been a while since we've had those, and I can't think of anything that's like based underwater like BioShock is. So it's gonna be pretty distinct in its setting, I think, and that's a positive. That should be a positive. It should. I think being a Netflix exclusive is a good market for this TV show.
Definitely agree. I'm excited.
From Engadget.com, the 3DS and Wii U shops days are numbered. In a new support page, Nintendo has revealed that it's shutting down the eShops for the Wii U system and the 3DS family of consoles in late March 2023. That means after that date, you won't be able to purchase any content from the shops anymore, download demos, or redeem download codes. The shutdown process will start much earlier than March next year, though. You won't be able to use a credit card to add funds to your eShop account starting on May 23rd of this very year, 2022.
I don't care. The only thing that makes me nervous is just the general games getting removed from like circulation. Always makes me a little nervous, but
right.
That's about it. Like this is old tech. Yeah, a little bit, but this is also these came out in 3DS, I think was 2013, and the Wii U was I think 2013 or 2014. This is old stuff. Nobody uses these anymore.
Yeah, but it still makes me sad to see it shut down, mostly because, like you were saying, there are digital games only that will be lost. But it's also like such big corporations can't have a dusty little janitor's closet that runs these servers. Like, I don't know. It's just sad to see it go.
I mean, I in theory, I get it, but I understand the need to like consolidate resources. You know, like I didn't even get upset when they announced that the old Halo servers are going to get shut down. Like I'm sad, but like it's like okay, that makes sense. It's a big company, but like they need the servers for the current version of the games. You know? Yeah.
Halo games have MCC for people to fall back on and play basically the same thing. What I was going to say is, especially with it being Nintendo's store, and they're so anti-fun, no emulation, chase you down and fine you and throw you in jail. These games are definitely going to be lost. Whereas like Sony trying to shut down the PS3 and Vita store, a lot of people, there's a huge market for emulating PS3 games already. So
yeah. I mean, to be fair, the Wii U had very few exclusives. They were pretty much all ports of other games, and they were also shit.
And also what is unique has already been ported to the Switch.
Exactly. And I would say probably the same thing with the 3DS. I have less familiar, even though I've owned one, I have less familiarity with how the shop is currently running. Like, because the Wii U tapped out at like 200 games or whatever, you know, like there's only so much. They stopped releasing those so long ago. The most, the most recently, the most recent version of the 3DS, I think, came out like 3 years ago now. Like it's been running for a while. It was shortly after the release of the Switch, if I remember correctly, but they're definitely trying to consolidate resources. So, all of those were basically just Pokemon and Mario games. And also, I'm pretty sure you can play most of those on the Switch now, anyways. And get the damn game cartridges. If you're going to use a Nintendo system, you got to get them on the cartridges. Don't be a pleb and buy them digitally. Fuck you. They're still making cartridges. Buy them.
I must admit, I got a 3DS to be basically an N64 emulator for those Zelda games. That's pretty much it. Yeah. So far, anyway. I still like my Vita more than my 3DS, but whatever.
I do agree, but that's just because we're weird.
Yes. From GameSpot.com, Bethesda has announced it is closing its PC storefront, the Bethesda.net launcher, later this year. In a blog post, the company thanked fans for their support and assured them they won't lose their games. Anyone who owns games through the Bethesda.net launcher can migrate them along with any funds in their wallet to Steam beginning in April. Most games will have their saves automatically transferred too, though some will require manual transfers, and one title is not supported at all, Bethesda said. Additionally, the company clarified that all Bethesda.net's accounts will remain accessible.
Good. Having specific launchers for each major publisher is atrocious in terms of, like, just technically, they're all undercooked and crap. They make a bunch of weird exclusivity problems. Half the time, the saves don't transfer over. So the fact that they're like, oh, it'll be fine is like, oh, so you were just willingly lying before and just weren't allowing people to transfer their saves over to other formats. That's stupid. Can we get rid of the Epic Games launchers next, please, please, please?
Yeah, I really dislike having Bethesda and Ubisoft and GOG and Epic and Steam and Origin. Those are all the ones I can come up with, but it sucks having so many to try to follow. It's like, I would rather have it all on one or two, but because most of those games are already on one or two anyway, but being such a cheapskate, some of those will have a special deal or a free game or whatever, and it's like it's hard to turn those down sometimes. So
yeah, that's the only thing that really makes them worth it. But it just, like, I don't even like Steam. In fact, I quite strongly dislike Steam, but it's the biggest and most well-supported launcher with the most amount of like ease of use for small publishers and like indie games. So just throw all your shit on there, for fuck's sake. Get it, like, bite the bullet, take like the 25% like percentage cut and just get it over with.
I really wish GOG was successful in taking over Steam, to be honest. I like their launcher. And I like how it consolidates everything I just named, including like PlayStation and Xbox. It'll tell you what you own on your Xbox versus what you own on PC. Which is just a visual thing that I don't need all those launchers in front of my face. I can just pull up GOG. But I don't know. It's so much smoother than Steam. I really wish they had been successful in there. overthrow.
See, the funny part is, at least for me, being like not like a primarily PC gamer, you don't need the launchers to launch the games.
Right.
Like you buy them through the launcher store and you can get some information on it, but it immediately makes the games accessible from your app or program list. Or if you're a weirdo and you have shortcuts on your desktop, like you don't need that. And I don't know. I also find it funny that Steam still looks like the original version that came out in like 2005 or whatever.
Yeah.
And it still runs like shit too, but like whatever. That's just a personal annoyance with Steam as a company. But like it's so unnecessary. I get it for some things, like an Epic Games store, even though I hate it. It makes sense that they want to keep Fortnite on their own store. Fine. But with other like Bethesda, like Xbox has its own game launcher. They don't call it that, but there is a version of the Xbox app that comes pre-installed on Windows PCs that you use to launch your Xbox games on a PC. So you're like your Windows 10 compatible games, or you can use them on Steam, which also works with your Xbox, your Microsoft account. So like, who cares? And Bethesda is now owned by Microsoft, or at least it will be once the stupid deal goes through. So who gives a shit? Moving on.
I really need to figure out how to play Halo Wars on PC, not through the shitty Xbox app.
From GameRant.com, From Software has shared details on the various classes of Elden Ring in the lead up to its release. Most recently, the developer had revealed the Prophet and Wretch classes for Elden Ring. The Prophet class seems to revolve around both offensive and defensive magic, while Wretch is described as poor and purposeless, like me. Players choosing Wretch will probably not get any initial bonuses or meaningful equipment, as it looks to be the hardest class in the game. Now, From Software has released a new trailer that gives an overview of Elden Ring. This is actually where I started getting interested in this game. I've been avoiding it. I love From Software and I love their games, but George R.R. Martin's involvement in this is actually a major turnoff for me. I don't like him as a person. I think he's an asshole. He's really arrogant. I also don't really like his writing, blah, 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 blah. It feels like From Software has actually pumped out a fair few games in the past few years. And I kind of want them to chill and just being like, oh, it's Dark Souls, but it's open world. That doesn't make me more interested. That makes me nervous. Whenever anything goes open world, it makes me want to shit myself. So
coming from the Halo fanboy. I really wish I had sent you the article I read. I don't know where to find it now, but it was a whitewashed piece of George R.R. Martin's involvement in the story writing. And the way I read it, he wrote so much and they took a little bit of it and made it their own. Like, that's the vibe I got, even though they were all hugs and kisses about working together. So I was like, that made me happy because I've tried Game of Thrones a couple of times, audiobook, visual book twice. It seems like something I would really enjoy, but I don't.
Yeah, it also I don't think meshes well with From Software's like storytelling decisions. Their games are like Martin's very overly descriptive, not in the only comparison that only seems to be made in a Tolkien sense of like describing everything in copious amounts of detail for 3 paragraphs about one tree. Like not like that, but Martin's like, very I don't know, he's just really descriptive of stuff. He likes you to know every inch of a room that you're in, and that's fine, but that's not what From Software tends to do. Their games are very subtle for the most part in terms of storytelling, especially the Souls games. Like everything is implicit. It's database, codex type storytelling. It's like what Destiny wanted to do, but by competent writers.
The first Game of Thrones book made me want to get out sticky notes and string and pinpoints and attacks and like be able to chart everything. And that's not what Dark Souls does.
Yeah, no. Martin's writing feels in that sense like when people describe like trying to read the Silmarillion, how it's like reading a scriptural text. It's so dense, and I need 5 dictionaries, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's what it feels like reading Martin's work, but he's describing like basic politics, and it's so copiously over detailed. It doesn't feel like a narrative. It just feels like he's putting words on a page. And I really, really appreciate From Software storytelling decisions and overall style. And I was hoping that that's going to translate into Elden Ring. And it kind of looks like it is. They're maintaining a lot of whooshy mystery shit. I like that.
I take offense to this article by trying to describe the wretch as the hardest class in the game. It just means that you're starting with a blank page in your pen and paper adventure. Your stats are lesser and you have a lower class, a lower level number. That's it. It just means that you build your own character instead of a pre-built one.
I think you're just butthurt because they also described you, not just me.
Stupid noobs.
Also, more Elden Ring from GameRant.com. Elden Ring is set to arrive at the end of the week. It came out like yesterday. It was either yesterday or the day before that. By the time we're reading this, which means that the excitement felt by fans is almost palpable. From Software has now released what will likely be Elden Ring's last trailer. It was, plot twist, as it was titled as the game's launch trailer. The video contains a host of new enemies, biomes, and bosses that will likely only further accentuate fans' hype. And this is where they really got me. I really liked how this is looking.
Dang. I chose to ignore this trailer because
no spoilers.
I only got this news article today, which is 2 days after the game launched. I've already been selective about what reviews I watch, and all those reviews have only shown the opening area, and I haven't really heard anything bad really about this game. Everybody's pretty glowing about how good this game is. A couple of PC glitches, but that's pretty much it.
That's expected.
Yeah, and that's gonna be squashed out by the time I get my hands on it. So who cares? So yeah, I don't want to see new enemies, biomes, or bosses because I want to encounter it blind.
Wow, you're so cool. Paramount Plus today announced that its highly anticipated upcoming series Halo, based on the iconic Xbox franchise, has been renewed for a second season prior to the series' upcoming launch on Thursday, March 24th, exclusively on Paramount Plus in the US and in all international markets where the streaming service is available. In addition, David Weiner from Homecoming, The Killing, and Brave New World will join the series as showrunner and executive producer for the second season. This was pretty likely anyways. That's not surprising. I'm not surprised. I'm glad they're getting another showrunner. When it's something like this, which I think is going to be not serialized episodic, not entirely episodic, like the whole season, I'm sure is fairly strung together. But a show like this where the season arcs aren't really interconnected, I think of Vikings is the first thing that comes to mind. There are some threads that get pulled between seasons, but usually each season is a very separately contained story. I think it breeds for having different showrunners to have different storytelling focuses. And with the really weird direction this show is going, I think that's a good thing. Prevents burnout and all that stuff.
I like that they have a different showrunner for the second season. I find it interesting that they've already approved season 2 because the initial reaction to the Super Bowl trailer was
mixed,
iffy. Like, it could be good, it could be bad. Like, we just gotta wait and see. So to go all in and already make a second season is kind of ballsy. Not completely unexpected because it's Paramount. They've got the money and resources and whatever, but it's interesting. helps to set the tone that they're confident that the show is going to do well. It makes me curious to know how many cliffhangers or open threads they already intended on leaving in season 1 to string you along to season 2. It's interesting.
I think in terms of that what you said of it being a gesture of confidence, I'm very mixed on that as an idea, because on the one hand, doubling down on something that has had a mixed reaction so far could be a very expensive mistake. But also it definitely does show a lot of confidence. And even though you guys may not like this so far from what we've been showing, we have enough confidence to give it, another like $100 million. It's interesting. It's an interesting choice, but I don't know, Cotton. Will it pay off?
Something I've been meaning to ask you, and I'm sure you've seen it and chat on it all over the internet, is what's with the freaking whatever truck or whatever it is seen in the trailer, the Ford Tahoe or whatever.
I literally don't care. I get why some, like, I'm a lore junkie for Halo.
Right.
But
I just want to hear your thoughts. I don't really care.
It's set like 500 years in the future, but humans are still using ballistic weapons. It's okay if the technology is weird. Like, there looks to be like an AK model, like rifle running around. That's fine. Like, I get it is different. It doesn't fit with the aesthetic. It clearly has a different aesthetic anyways. Like, just leave it alone.
I thought it did, but I didn't even notice it the first time I watched it. I saw the stupid shit posts about it afterwards. I was like, oh yeah, I did see that. This
seems like it's more close future than Halo is, I guess. It's obviously set in a whole different timeline, but apparently the year dates are roughly the same. But like, this feels like this is like 100 years from now, like, of course they're still going to have like a Jeep, like it's not like it's like a Starbucks cup goof. It's like
inside of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, like, okay, maybe they just didn't have the budget to make that many vehicles. I don't know. Maybe making a Warthog from scratch is fucking expensive. Holy shit. Like, chill. It's fine.
I think it's just a freaking joke that whatever model that is lasts hundreds of years or whatever. I don't know. I don't understand cars. Car humor.
Haha, cars.
Cars go brrr. Videogameschronicle.com. Never heard of that website. Speaking to CNBC, Brad Smith clarified again that the acquisition would not prevent future Activision Blizzard games from being released on PlayStation consoles. However, Smith went one step further by also confirming that the company plans to release Call of Duty and other Activision Blizzard franchises on Nintendo Switch for the first time. One of the things we're being very clear about as we move forward with the regulatory review of this acquisition is that great titles like Call of Duty from Activision Blizzard today will continue to be available on Sony PlayStation, Smith said. He then added, we'd like to bring it to Nintendo devices. We'd like to bring the other popular titles that Activision Blizzard has and ensure that they continue to be available on PlayStation and that they become available on Nintendo. So this is interesting in two ways. One, he says, we're definitely going to keep it available on Xbox and PlayStation. And then he says, we would like to do this for Nintendo Switch. That indicates to me in glaring neon red and yellow and orange maybe that he has no idea if it's going to work.
Yeah, probably.
But that's what he wants to do. It's a goal that they have set, and they're going to investigate it and then be told that the Nintendo Switch cannot run it above 30 FPS.
Yeah, it's probably going to be frame locked, but I mean, it runs Doom pretty damn well. And admittedly, that's not connected to the internet, but still.
I read an article a couple of weeks ago about Doom on the Switch, it doesn't run DirectX. It uses a different program, and that's how it could be pretty fantastic on the Switch, and that DirectX is like outdated and should be left behind. I can't remember what it is. It was really interesting.
I have no idea.
And
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know this shit. I think it would be cool, like, especially if the Switch platform is going to kind of continue as like the future of Nintendo for the next few generations. That's probably not a bad idea. At least not like because if they're going to do it, it's not going to be like the Wii and Wii U versions. Like, it's going to be the game, just handicapped. And I think that would probably be a good thing for them. I'm happy for them.
That's what it was. It uses OpenGL instead of DirectX. I don't know what that means, but I have definitely seen both before.
I have no idea.
And the article I read said that OpenGL is God's gift to PC gaming. So
wow.
My other thought on this was that Call of Duty Black Ops, insert subtitle here, was on the Nintendo 3DS, and it was not great because it was one of those, it's on Nintendo, so it's completely different, but the current name is Black Ops, so we're going to try to tie it together. Games.
The Vita version was fine-ish. It's feasible.
Okay.
Insomniac Games confirmed that Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine will be releasing exclusively on PS5. Thank God. That's all I have to say. PS5 needs exclusive. Series X needs exclusives. Bump up the tech. Put it on next gen. Current gen. It's a fucking current gen. Come on. Let's go.
Xbox will be getting its exclusives soon enough.
We're getting there.
This is breathing life into the PlayStation exclusives.
Definitely needs it. Like, Miles Morales was on both, and the PS5 upgrade was astronomical from what I've seen. I have yet to play, but that's what it looked like to me. Just looking at the tech comparisons, the PS5 version was great. So fuck it. Like, even the reveal trailer for Spider-Man 2, which I believe was in engine, it looks amazing. Put it on all of the best hardware.
It definitely feels like there have been several games still releasing on the PS4, and it kind of feels like it's holding back current gen.
For sure.
But to be fair, with all the distribution bullshit and COVID bullshit and whatever else, I can understand why companies are still trying to keep their product on last gen, because I'm still inundated with headlines trying to help people find a current gen console. They're still kind of rare. So
yeah, I think we're coming out of the woods on that. I don't remember where or exactly when, but I saw a fair few articles. Like, they're pretty well in stock at Walmarts now, like kind of across the board, from what I can tell. It's it's not great, but it's enough. And I think a large enough chunk of the audience has them or can get them. You know, I think it's kind of worth it at this point. I think Horizon Forbidden West releasing on last gen was a bad idea. It looks like it's fucking amazing even on last gen, but I think that really held it back. I mean, if you look at the PS5 version, it's disgustingly good. So why not just jump feet first? Like, the big franchises for PlayStation have delayed their titles a couple of years, like God of War and Horizon, and then decided to release on both consoles as well. Like, why not just throw them out there on cross-gen and get it over with? Or wait, the extra year or two. Like, God of War 2, I think, is coming out late this year or early next year, and that's going to be on both consoles too. Like, you delayed it already. Why not just go, fuck it, and slap some extra texture on that shit, making it an exclusive? Come on.
That was something that struck me when I watched Uncharted. Was one of the opening credits was Sony Pictures, and I read online that it was the first movie to have that opening credit. And it just makes me nervous that they're going to start doing freaking Ratchet and Clank animated movie and a God of War hard R movie and maybe a Horizon freaking. I don't want every PlayStation exclusive to be turned into visual media, movies or TV. Like
I agree, but we also did already get a Ratchet and Clank movie in 2016, by the way. And we do have the Last of Us series coming next year. And I believe they have announced that something God of War is in the pipeline.
I do not like this.
I don't disagree, but me boycotting it's not going to do anything.
I blame Halo on Paramount.
Oh, fuck you.
From Kotaku.com. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, the next two games in the main line Pokemon series, are coming to Nintendo Switch later this year, the Pokemon Company announced during today's Pokemon Presents. How many times can Jacob say Pokemon in a sentence? Let's go. The reveal came at the very end of the 14-minute live stream that showcased news for a variety of different games, such as Pokemon Go. The reveal came at the very end of the 14-minute live stream. I just said that.
Yeah, I'm stupid.
Truthfully, most people weren't expecting anything big out of the live stream, and at first that seemed to pan out. The introduction to the trailer saw a real-life human investigating something, which made it seem like the presents was going to end on a trailer for something Detective Pikachu related, but it wasn't. Instead, something that kind of looked like a hybrid of this year's Pokemon Legends Arceus? Arceus?
I have no idea.
Pokemon Legends Ass, and 2020's Pokemon Sword and Shield started playing. There were large open-looking spaces, bright tone squares, and plenty of lens flare, meaning that this game was directed by J.J. Abrams. The Pokemon...
That joke never gets old.
The Pokemon also seem to be a lot more responsive with additional animations for when they appear out in the wild. Here's how the Scarlet and Violet website describes the game. Various towns blend seamlessly into the wilderness with no borders. You'll be able to see the Pokemon of this region in the skies, in the seas, in the forests, on the streets, all over. You'll be able to experience the true joy of the Pokemon series, battling against wild Pokemon in order to catch them, now in an open world game that players of any age can enjoy.
So I've been very out of the Pokemon series for a fair few generations now. I casually play Pokemon Go every once in a while because it's kind of cute. The last major entry I actually bought anywhere near release, I believe, was Black and White 2. So that would be like 2014, maybe. It's been a long time. It's just been going off, and they have like 4 different spin-off franchises. Like Sword and Shield was a spin-off, sort of, and then whatever the other thingy that I can't pronounce was, I don't know. This piques my interest because it does actually look properly open world. It's Breath of the Wild, but with Pokemon.
No.
Yes.
The only thing Pokemon that I've played is Pokemon Go.
I play Pokemon Go every day. I play Pokemon Go.
I think it's funny that they started out, in my limited knowledge, with like rare gemstones, and they've worked their way through the spectrum to pink and purple. It just makes me laugh. Like in 10 years, they're gonna have Pokemon and Green Lantern crossover.
From Kotaku.com, Super Smash Bros. Won't be featured at EVO 2022, the biggest fighting game event of the year. The Sony-owned esports organization announced the loss of the platform fighter in a statement on Twitter today and appeared to blame the decision on Nintendo, which has historically tried to tightly control how its games are featured out in the wild. After revealing that the full lineup of games to be played at EVO 2022 would be announced in a live stream on March 8th on Twitch, the organization preempted questions about Smash Bros. By saying upfront that it would not be included. We want to let you know in advance the Super Smash Bros. Will not be making a return appearance, EVO's organizers wrote. Since 2007, we've seen historic Super Smash Bros. Moments created at EVO's events. We are saddened that Nintendo has chosen not to continue that legacy with us this year. This is pretty typical Nintendo behavior. It's owned by Sony, and I believe this was a recent Sony acquisition, so duh.
See, I sent this to you this morning, and I was thinking about it all day. I didn't know it was owned by Sony, but I was like, I could come up with nothing. It didn't make sense at all to me why you would ban your game from an event like this.
Because Nintendo are really butthurt all the time about everything.
Right, but it makes no sense as a business to not let people have fun with your game. Like Super Smash Brothers is literally made for events like this. It doesn't make sense to ban it from that. The only thing that would happen from including your game in a huge freaking competition like this would be that people see the game and go, whoa, that looks cool. I want to try to compete in this next year. And you only sell more copies of your freaking game. I don't get it.
Nintendo is dumb. Yeah.
Nintendo does not like people to have fun.
Nope. Yet they make the most fun games. So, checkmate, atheist.
From PCGamer.com, it was a big moment for PC gaming when Microsoft stopped releasing its games exclusively through the Microsoft Store and started putting them on Steam. It wasn't every Microsoft game at first, but now it's gone that direction. Just 3 days ago, Bethesda announced it was dropping its own launcher and releasing everything on Steam going forward. But Microsoft also has Game Pass, a subscription service that's grown to millions of subscribers across Windows and Xbox, and those games notably still run out of its own app, not Steam. When I spoke to Valve President Gabe Newell about the Steam Deck last week, I asked him if Valve is interested in its own subscription service or whether we could see Game Pass games on Steam in the future. For reference, the I and me in this article is not me, Jacob, but whoever wrote the article for PCGamer.com. Apparently, Gabe Newell said, quote, I don't think it's something that we think we need to do ourselves, building a subscription service at this time. Newell said, but for their customers, it's clearly a popular option, and we'd be more than happy to work with them to get that on Steam. Gee whiz, another way for Steam to make money. It only makes sense. It's only a matter of time.
True. Steam will envelop all of us, and Gaben will look on with glee. From Engadget.com, The Wolf Among Us 2 finally has a release window. The revived Telltale Games team has announced that its long-in-the-making sequel will be available sometime in 2023. There's a new trailer to match, and this clip sheds more light on where this precursor to Bill Willingham's Fables is headed. I nutted so hard. I am so excited for this.
Misspoke.
What did I say?
You did not say The Wolf Among Us.
Oh. It took me so long to play this game, but once I did, it was like absolutely mind-blowing in terms of quality. Like, this is the only story-wise game that rivals the first season of The Walking Dead. Telltale-wise, technologically speaking, it's nothing fancy, but the Fables comics are phenomenal, and this world is stupidly interesting, and I'm very glad that it's getting a sequel. Also, the tech looks good. I'm happy that Telltale employees are getting work again. All the stars are aligning. A spooky mystery noir, but Wolfman make Spencer happy. Brain go burr.
I missed this trailer. You have nutted about the Wolf Among Us 1 for so many years, and I have yet to get to it. I promise I will at some point. You'll just have to keep nagging me. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I have to nag you. Well, now's a good time. Dude, it costs like $5.
I am confident it's already in my library,
Probably.
just way back on the backlog.
Nice.
Honestly, that's probably why we started this podcast, so that we could beat down the backlog of games that we have.
Yeah, I think so. It gives you good, instead of just playing like Halo 3 again.
Right.
It gives you something else
is
to
that
do.
you get that 120-hour open world game and you just want to hang from the ceiling.
Yep. That's it
Speaking
for the news.
of open world games and hanging from the ceiling, what did you play this month?
I would not call it an open world, but I did want to hang from the ceiling at moments. I played Doom Eternal. It's a transition, all right. It's a first-person shooter developed by id Software and published by Bethesda Softworks. It is a sequel to Doom 2016 and is the 5th main game in the Doom series. It was released in March 2020 for Windows, PS4, Stadia, and Xbone, and a version for the Switch was released in December of 2020. And then just this past year, in June of 2021, versions for PS5 and Xbox Series X were also released. It's set sometime after the events of the 4th game, Doom 2016. The story follows the Doom guy, once again, on a mission to end Hell's consumption of Earth and foil the alien makers' plans to exterminate humanity. Okay, so I really did like this game, but it has some serious fucking hangups. Okay, positive stuff out the gate. I understand why a lot of people's reception to the additional lore and story elements was kind of mediocre. It's not what people play these games for. That's fine, whatever. I like it. I appreciated how brief it was for the most part, but it was still really interesting. I liked the lore. I liked the database entries. I liked the fact that more of it was in cutscenes. I know, sue me. I like all the new characters that are introduced. It's not terribly memorable. I'll give it that. I forgot about it after I played it, but I did enjoy it.
I'm kind of shocked by that because I really appreciated how the story was presented in this game. Like, there's a lot of codex that you can dig into if you want even more, but yeah, there was a lot more in cutscenes, and it was actually enough for me to be able to summarize what's going on without caring so much. Like, I jumped in just to kill demons, and I found a story, and I was happy.
Yeah, the public reception was weird. I'm with you on that. I did
That's
like
quite
all of
weird.
that. I don't know, man. But all of the new gameplay elements, including the additional platforming sequences, just the general addition of abilities and stuff, I enjoyed all of that. But holy shit, there are a couple of choices which fucking kill me, and they ruin almost all of my enjoyment very quickly. First of all, the boss battles are dog shit. Just flat out, they're worse than Doom 2016 by a long shot. That game had good bosses. Some of them were underpowered, some of them were overpowered, but they were all good, you know? The bosses in this game have, like, the first one is like a quick time event. The fuck? And then the rest of them are more bullet spongy than anything else. They're not like, I mean, it's Doom, so they're kind of all bullet spongy, but not in a very, I don't know. It was painful. It was painful. I would be draining every last drop of ammunition on every boss. So then I'd die 5 times over, and then it'd give me the OP suit, and then I dominate. And like, if you have to give a built-in element for when people keep fucking up, you designed your game like shit, frankly.
See, I want to argue with you, but I'll go for it now. I sucked at it. I too had to get the OP suit, but after playing and realizing that they wanted to encourage you to use all of the elements in the game and use the chainsaw to get more ammo because you run out of ammo so quickly, so often, that's part of the game loop.
See, in the first game, I agree with you. The game loop is fucking perfect between needing to kill enemies and get glory kills and get chainsaw kills. Perfect, absolutely perfect on all difficulties. But in this game, the ammo counter is so astronomically low for every single fucking weapon. And there's no chainsaw ammo anywhere. So even if you do have chainsaw ammo, then you have to be chainsaw killing like every single fucking enemy on easy. Then why the hell do you even have other weapons if you're pretty much exclusively going to be using the stupid glory punch or whatever the hell it's called, the sword and the chainsaw? Then don't have other weapons because you can never use them and it's pointless. So the first third of the game is a grind fest because the weapons don't have ammo and you can't upgrade them yet. And you can't get to the good weapons and there's no, I had to lower the difficulty, not because I was like getting killed, but because I would run out of ammo. And then because melee does no damage, literally no damage, I can't kill anything. So I'd have to just start over again. It's absurd.
I badly want to be you and just be that asswipe that makes you sound like a butthurt nerd.
Say it. Fucking say it.
Because I completely agree. I was in the same boat for so long, but then I replayed. And it's by design. They wanted it to be like that so that you're using all of the tools at your disposal and balancing it out. They want you using the flame belch as soon as it becomes available to get max armor all the time. They want you using the blood punch so that you have max health as soon as it's available. They want you using the chainsaw as much as you can to get ammo. They didn't want you to just walk in with a full magazine of every weapon and just wipe the boss. They wanted it to be balanced among all of the tools. So I don't know if you remember a year ago or 2 years ago when I was texting you these same things, but I eventually figured it out and have been playing on a harder difficulty because it's just how they designed this game.
I think that's a stupid design. If your game has 80% of your weapon sandbox is useless and it forces you, but not by choice, it doesn't encourage you, it literally forces you to use certain things almost exclusively, then it's wasted development time, resources, and it takes away fun because it says, hey, look at this cool gun. You can't use it because there's no ammo and you can't find anything. And it doesn't make it satisfying when you do get ammo. It's not like the BFG in the first 2 games where you get like 3 rounds of ammunition and that's it. But when it does hit, it literally nukes everything in the room. It's not like that where, I can finally use the like machine gun, the most basic weapon in this game next to the combat shotgun. There's no ammo for anything. It's literally you get a chainsaw kill, a high level, like a 3-tier chainsaw kill. You get enough ammo to kill 2 enemies tops. And now I have to scrounge the map for more chainsaw ammo. It's absurd. And it's not because I am that bad at aiming, for fuck's sake. Everything's a bullet sponge. And they tweaked the numbers in the wrong direction. They made everything more bullet spongy and they took away damage from the weapons and then they cut the ammo counters like in half. The shotgun holds like 12 shells.
Yep.
It has a mode which is automatic fire. Those 2 things cannot coexist and function. It's absurd. And the whole game is plagued with this because this game is bigger than Doom 2016, which I liked. It has platforming. The world is bigger. There's way more going on. It's way more visually interesting, but you can't do anything. And I can't appreciate any of the architecture, the level design, if I'm too busy going, fuck, I need to find stupid chainsaw ammo so I can like kill a zombie. Like the most basic enemy type, I can't even kill with a punch or 10 of them.
That's what I was going to say too. That led to me figuring it out was they would put you in in an arena and I would kill off the easy ones, the imps and the super soldiers, in an attempt to work my way up to the Minotaur and the Cyber Demon and whatever, and the imps and super soldiers kept respawning endlessly. So the intention is that you chainsaw and only use, one of 3 chainsaw ammos on the little guys to get all the ammo that you need to kill the big guys. You start at the top and work your way down. And the easy kills are what you chainsaw for a lot of ammo instead of getting the glorious kill with 3 chainsaw ammos.
I think that's fine in base premise if it was a different game series. But this literally argues within the game, it argues with their own design of, we want to add more freedom. We want the world to be bigger. You have more things at your disposal, but we force you to play in one specific play style because it's the only valid one. That's not good. And that just really, really tanks the enjoyment because everything else is phenomenal.
I can agree with that too, because there are certain enemies that you have to headshot or you have to use a certain weapon's upgrade to kill. So it's tough you can't use that weapon's base damage because you're saving the ammo for headshot ammo or the microwave beam or whatever else. So that is a fair point.
It's just really frustrating. And more than anything else, it's disappointing. Like, I don't know. Aside from that, moving on from my big bone to pick, the rest of it is really good. I like the length. It's 10-ish hours longer than the first game, I think. I ended up playing on, it's the second easiest difficulty. I had to bump it down because I was having so many fucking problems with basically just having to kill myself all the time. And it was...
Digitally, not physically.
Well, I strongly considered hanging from my ceiling while I played this game. It was more...
Your ceiling wouldn't support you.
Ooh, true. It just, I don't know. Everything else was good. The music was excellent, just like the first game. It had some good remixes in it. The sound design is excellent. The designs are a bit more cartoony and a little bit tidier and less like high res than the last game. I don't like that. That's not a win for me. I think it's because they wanted to fit so many more of them on screen, and I don't really appreciate that, but it is what it is.
To be fair, though, the original Doom 2 did that in relation to Doom 1.
It did, and that's another reason why I don't like Doom 2 as much as Doom 1.
Fair, but it was keeping itself in the series.
I guess. I don't know. That everything else was so much more fun, and that just really took away from my enjoyment. Aside from that, the only other real gripe I have is I don't like the HUD at all. In the UI is atrocious. The first game was good. It was fine. The TAC map was good. The main menu was functional. Nothing exciting, but it worked. But the almost neon fluorescent green that they chose for this game gave me a migraine in like 5 minutes of looking at it. And I don't get headaches from stuff. I always have headaches. That's my problem. But I don't have light sensitivity problems, color sense, like nothing like that. But looking at this game's HUD for like 2 to 5 minutes, like I'm trying to look at the map, I'm trying to read the database. It's so high contrast against everything else. And there's no other options. It's so clunky. It takes up the whole damn screen. And the same thing on the main menu. It breeds from the design choice that they wanted this game to be more like arcadey. And I don't disagree with that in premise. I'm fine with it. But when it basically just means your UI is shitty, I don't like that. The game doesn't feel more arcadey. The user interface does. And that's not great because then the main menu is you're posing in the middle of it. And then there's a bunch of misaligned options on both sides of the player. It just looks like crap. It's annoying to navigate. It's sluggish, and it's really multiplayer focused for its alternative multiplayer mode, which I think is Horde mode, whatever the hell they call it. I played a couple rounds of that. It's fun. It's better than the first game. I always say the first game. It's better than 2016's multiplayer. It's a unique concept. You play as either the Doomslayer or one of like 4 demons, and you battle it out. I like that. It was fun. It's not my cup of tea, but it was something better, clearly. But they sacrificed the snap map feature, which was stupid. And there are 2 DLCs, which I did not play, so I cannot comment on those. I don't like the fact that this game has DLC, if I'm being honest. It feels like that's a little cheap. I don't know how large those expansions are. I didn't hear anything like, we're not talking, oh, it's like Blood and Wine. It's huge. Like, I didn't hear anything like that. So even if it's another 5-10 hours, like, it's fine, I guess. It felt like this game was almost incomplete, even though it was bigger than the last game. Something I tried to hammer on a lot with 2016 was it felt very complete. It felt like it was a nice thematic experience, even in multiplayer aside, basically. The rest of it felt very well connected and cohesive. It was really well polished. This game feels more pushed out the door and a little janky. And the fact that it has a cliffhanger and then 2 sequel DLCs is not great. Not a fan.
So I've played most of the DLCs. I've got 1 or 2 levels left. There's 2 of them. You can probably get both of them together for $20. That's just a random ass guess.
I think it is 20 though for both of them.
Together.
Yeah.
I would say it's about 3 to 4 hours for a straight playthrough of both. So 3 to 4 for the first one, 3 to 4 for the second one. So 8 hours for $20 isn't terrible. I don't exactly remember what the cliffhanger is in the base game, but I'm willing to say that the DLCs go in a direction that you wouldn't expect. Please remind me how the base game ends.
I played this like 3 weeks ago. I don't know.
Yeah, but you said it ends on a cliffhanger.
It was a cliffhanger, but I didn't like care.
Cock and bull.
Like, it's
All
not
right,
like,
so
oh my gosh, no. Like, the first game ended on an excellent cliffhanger, which was sequel bait, but
right.
also it's not, because this game has like nothing to do with the end of the last game.
Right.
That was a really good cliffhanger.
That was the thing that killed me. It was like I was here for the resolution to that cliffhanger and nothing happened.
Yeah, which I'm definitely fine with. I like how that ended up being isolated, but I don't remember. It was just like, oh, it's over. Like,
the 2 DLCs pertain to throwing the demon sword into the mix of the gameplay loop, and it's basically Doom Guy becoming God. He's like Hollow Knight-esque ascends from being a bug to being God. And it's going to be something like he rules hell or something, but I haven't made it that far. He's like, it just amps up how many demons you're encountering. There's a couple extra challenges. There's like ascendant demons or something. I don't know. It's been a while, but it's like it throws a couple of new ideas in the mix. It makes it extremely difficult, even on the easiest difficulty. So you have to be really good at the gameplay loop to even beat it. And it doesn't go, it has nothing to do with the base game as far as I'm concerned.
then why didn't they just make a sequel? Because it looks like we're not getting another sequel. So like, what?
I don't think so, but I was happy with the DLC. I think it's a decent price for what it is. I would say $20 for the 2 together is legit. If you can get it at 10 or 15, freaking do it. I encourage you. Even though what you're saying implies that you didn't really like Doom Eternal, I still think you would enjoy what the story does in the DLC.
It sounds like it is something I would enjoy. It just
on sale.
Yeah, I'm really burnt out on this game. It's not like it took that long to complete, but with how much frustration and how much delaying, it took me multiple hours to complete each level. Not because I was being a completionist, I was, but aside from that point, like just because I had to keep replaying over and over and over. Every arena took me like 10 tries. That's really discouraging to make me want to pay you more money to sit through another like 5 hours of it.
I would encourage you to do some research and play it again, because it was yet another one of those games where spending more time with it, I finally got it. I spent so much time with your stupid freaking Halo series that I finally get the gameplay loop. I think it's the same thing with Doom Eternal. I think you just need to have Stockholm syndrome and to finally understand it.
I just want to go play 2016 again. That's why it's frustrating. It's not because it's like bad. It's not bad. The rest of the game is phenomenal. It's just
Right.
a couple of mostly numbers-based choices. You could change that code in a couple of weeks. Like you'd need lots of playtesting, of course, but like you could change these things pretty easily in terms of game development. It's not like this is some deeply embedded choice. You know, we're not talking about, I don't even know. It takes away enjoyment. It doesn't keep it from happening. It makes me go, oh, that was really sick. And then I run out of ammo and I go, oh shit. So if all these really nice, cool kills I got, these excellent moves I made, those didn't actually happen because I had to restart my checkpoint again. Like that just kills me.
Doom 2016 made you a badass, and Doom Eternal
makes me suicidal.
Really work to be a killing machine, and it's a different feeling. It's very jarring going from one to the other, but I think once you understand how to play Doom Eternal, you can become a badass again.
Wow, you're talking to me like I'm some washed up has-been. Damn boy. That's all I really got. I bought this when it came out for the $60, and then I immediately brought it back to the store because I realized I needed that money. So I didn't end up playing it. I bought it 2 years ago on Black Friday, online through GameStop. So it was... Yes, it was 2 years ago. So this would have been 6 to 8 months after release. I think it was around $20 to $30. I'm glad I bought it. I'm glad I played it. I just grinding out the rest of the achievements for this fucker is gonna be nasty, dude.
That's when I realized how to play it. I think that's when it'll finally hit you.
I'm impatient. I want it now.
I cannot believe you went the whole review without mentioning it's after my bedtime, I'll say it, the clusterfuck of the soundtrack release for this game.
It's not really relevant to the game release.
But you are such a soundtrack nerd.
It's really frustrating that I can't just buy this, because the way that Mick Gordon communicated with the studio and the developers that actually integrated his music into the game were not communicating well, and he was missing deadlines and being an asshole about it. And then they were getting butthurt, so they started making their own music and then remaster, like, or mastering his, like he'd send over the raw like music, and then they would master it and then integrate it. It was weird. So they had a bunch of legal falling out. They both came across like assholes. I feel very bad for the sound design and music design guys who had to integrate this and are now kind of getting thrown under the bus for it, because I'm sure they did the best that they could. It's the overall the conclusion of that is in game the music is very compressed by comparison to the previous game, even though it's more interesting and lively, like instrumentation wise. It just, the actual sound is compressed. But I'm not that much of a music nerd that I don't really notice too much, but it ended up resulting in a legal problem because Mick Gordon wouldn't let them release the music because he technically didn't finish it, and they wouldn't let him go back and finish it to release a soundtrack version, which is lame. And this was like, we just found out all of this like 6 months ago. It was a very slow trickle of information on why the fuck we couldn't buy the soundtrack.
That clarifies things for me, because I thought the way it was that the released soundtrack was FUBAR, but the in-game soundtrack was okay. So
I don't know, man.
That broke my brain, but
I have
the
no
fact
idea.
that it's compressed to a point that I can't hear it in-game because you have shotguns and chainsaws going off makes more sense.
I honestly don't care anymore. I cared when it came out, and I was very pissed off about it because the first game on disc is phenomenal. I'm just so, because it was like headline after headline of Mick Gordon said this, Bethesda said this, and I was just like, guys,
it was
stop.
one of the first times that the public crucified Bethesda and then apologized for it and said, "Oh, it's not entirely your fault. We're sorry." that will stay with me forever. I was gonna say too that you bought me the Doom 2016 soundtrack on disc for a Christmas present, I think. So that's why I was so surprised you didn't talk about this scandal in your review.
I'm just tired, dude. I'm just fucking tired. Just seeing the words Doom Eternal on a screen on the internet is tiring now. I just either make a third game or don't. I don't know, man. It's so weird because, again, it's not like this tanked the franchise. It didn't tank my enjoyment of it. It took away so much of the enjoyment that it had provided me. It said, it put the carrot in my mouth and then it ripped it out. Like, it wasn't putting a carrot on a stick in front of me and then never gave it to me. Like, I was eating the carrot and then it made me throw it up.
So compare 2016 and 2018 to the originals, Doom 1 and 2. What is the feeling as Doom guy in those two games? Are you a slaughtering badass that never dies? Are you hurting for ammo or armor? Like, what's the feeling of playing those games side by side?
Playing the original Doom and Doom 2 is almost identical, like on all fronts. They're different maps and different character skins, but almost everything else is the same, like almost notoriously so. On all difficulties, never really hurting for ammo too much in those games. You'd have to look, like you wouldn't run out of ammo across the board. You run out of ammo on a couple of guns, not every single thing in your arsenal is empty. And also you can't melee anything. Like, melee in those first two games had no damage. It didn't do anything unless you had a power up, but you never had to use it because you always had pistol ammo, if nothing else. Like, there was so much pistol and minigun ammo. You would use everything else. You use the shotgun, you use the BFG, you use the plasma rifle, whatever, and then you could always fall back on that pistol, and it would take forever, but you could still kill a couple of imps and get to the next room where there was ammo. I never had that problem. Same thing in 2016. They completely changed how the ammo system worked, and I loved it. It makes for very offensive gameplay. Big fan. But it was still given out generously enough that you would run out on like a gun. You have to go, oh, I have to stop using the plasma rifle? No. Well, now I can just use the heavy assault rifle. Like, okay. It's fun. It changes your gameplay style entirely, but it doesn't shove you in one direction. It cuts off, instead, it's like a 20-sided die. It makes a couple of those sides like unavailable, not a 6-sided die and 3 of them are unavailable right now. I don't know.
So my only complaint about this game, once my self-proclaimed enlightenment, was that the level design felt samey. You run into an arena, you kill all the things, you find a couple of collectibles in the hallways on your way to the next arena.
I didn't really notice. I thought it was fine.
Do you plan on trophy hunting or
Eventually,
achievement hunting because you're Xbox?
when I get bored.
Did you unlock the Unmaker?
I don't remember.
Did you do all the Gore-Nest things? All 6 of them or something?
I think.
And got the alternative BFG?
I think.
Interesting answer.
Dude, I don't. The
It's
game just is so much, but it's so like, oh, cool, new gun. I can't use it after 5 minutes, so I don't give a shit.
It's on the weapon wheel. You can delete all this stuff if you want, but on the weapon wheel, you select the BFG and hit, for you, it would be Y, and change the BFG to the Unmaker.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So you did get that?
Yeah.
Nice. I had to do a lot of leveling to to get that. I don't think I've even used it. I was like, no, I like my BFG. But apparently the Unmaker's OP, so.
Big gun go burr. So the answer to my trivia question is someone who the general public seems to be getting a little tired of right now. He was also recently cast as everyone's favorite lasagna-loving cat, as well as everyone's favorite plumber, Mario.
Oh, no kidding.
Chris Pratt was offered the role of Nathan Drake by Sony.
When you said lasagna lover, I thought you were saying Bill Murray, and I was like, what?
Nope. No, he is currently in talks to be Garfield. He is also Mario. I'm gonna kill myself. But Chris Pratt was gonna be Nathan Drake for about 5 minutes there, and he said no. Thank God. Maybe Arnold Schwarzenegger just got really close to his ear and said, "Don't you fucking dare! I'm gonna disown you." Who knows?
Yeah. So, Zachary Levi was
There were
another
a
one.
lot of people. And the fact that there are so many people with such a wide variety of personality really means that this movie had no identity. Like if every big name actor was in talks or offered the role, that means you didn't really have a character. So
that reminds me of another complaint I had with the movie. Really quick, they included a Nolan North cameo, and even as a normie, it didn't make sense. There was nothing funny about it. There was no importance to it. It was literally just, look, the voice of the character in the video games. Wow. Like, I got it because I guessed who it was. I have a general idea of what his face looks like, and his voice triggered a million voices from a million video games. But besides that, the rest of the theater, as far as I could tell, didn't care. And there was nothing to the scene besides we need a Nolan North cameo. It was very annoying.
Haha, cameo and post-credit scene go burr. That is all. Do you want to tease what you'll be reviewing next month, if you even know?
I'm still working on the game that I teased last month, and I'm working on at least one other, but they're fairly large games, and who frigging knows what I will be talking about next month. Maybe I will just watch a shitty video game movie last minute so that I have something to talk about.
Damn, bro.
True story. What are you doing next month?
I actually know, and I'm kind of impressed with myself because I'm already ahead of the ball. It is a game that was created as an anti-smoking PSA. It was free. I will not elaborate any further. It is an interesting experience. Yeah. So thank you.
I'm I'm stumped. I was gonna say Heavy Rain. I was gonna say LA Noire.
No.
And then you said
I mean
Free.
literally, this game is an anti-smoking PSA. Literally. Yeah, it's fun.
I got nothing.
You're gonna find out.
Have I played this game?
Oh fuck no, dude! It's a free game on Xbox, which is about not smoking. Like I don't mean like, oh, it's literally about not smoking. It literally is about not smoking, and it has an advertisement. It was funded by, I don't remember what the company's name is, but like the organization that's always doing like the anti-smoking ads all the time. They're mostly anti-vaping ads at this point. It was funded by them.
So it's not a common household game name.
Oh, fuck no, dude. You've never heard of this.
It's like the Chex Mix Doom clone.
Sure. It's
Come
something.
on.
It's something. It'll be fun. It'll be a fun time.
All right, play the credits.
Big thank you to our patrons over at patreon.com/dimecomicbros. If you are one of our patrons, we will do lots of fun things for you, including but not limited to kissing your feet. We will say your name, including all the funny names you can come up with. So that does include our 3 current patrons, Wesley Eaton, Jeff Lawrence, and Dave. Come up with sillier names, for fuck's sake, because we have to say them. You can also get some sketches done by our friend over on our other main podcast, Dime Comic Bros, done by Colin, who is our art boy. Also get access to all of our podcasts early by at least a few days, whenever humanly possible that is. Also get exclusive clips and segments from both podcasts. If we go on a random ass tangent that we feel like cutting out, that gets sent over there. You also get access to Dime Comic Bros Happy Hour, which is an exclusive second, third podcast, sort of, which is mostly just the 3 of us shooting the shit and cracking open a beer after Dime Comic Bros. Also get lots of stickers, lots and lots of fun stickers, all designed by Colin. Very fun. So yeah, go check it out over on patreon.com/dimecomicbros. Go visit our website at dimecomicbros.com. If you want to talk to us, we have an email, dimegamingbros@gmail.com. I don't know why you'd want to email us. Send us some weird games to talk about. I don't know, dude. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter for updates, previews, sneak peeks, behind the scenes, all sorts of fun stuff. And yeah, we will be back next month to talk about a couple of games and another video game movie. Yeah. Stuff and things. It'll probably be the newest Resident Evil movie, because I'm pretty sure there's nothing else coming out. So that'll be something. And then if somehow you have managed to find this podcast without finding our primary podcast, go visit Dime Comic Bros on YouTube and all audio platforms. That is where the 2 of us, as well as Colin, every week talk about comic book news, current TV shows, review comic books, comic book movies, all sorts of fun shenanigans.
Pretty much anything else that I want to talk about, but nobody else takes advantage of that rule. So whatever.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's about it. So thanks for listening. If somehow you made it all the way through because you are a lunatic, it's greatly appreciated. If you wouldn't mind giving this video or podcast a thumbs up, positive rating/review, whatever interaction you can do, be greatly appreciated. And we will, you'll hear from us next month. We will, in fact, not interact with you. This is a one-way parasocial relationship. So know your place. If I end up muting myself a lot, it's because I'm definitely getting over a cold.
I wrote my notes while I was at work, because that's what everybody does when they're at work. They write notes for their video game podcast.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Frank, that's what I do. That's most of my break time ends up being stuff for this and, you know, other assorted content creation things.
Right. Let me try that again because I couldn't read my notes.
I lied. I was actually making Jell-O.
Whoa. Oh, you're waiting for me to move on.
Yes, Daddy. Oh, I'm always full of crap. That's why I have such a fat ass.
That's why it took you a half hour to shit. My boss tracked down which hotel room I was in because I was an hour and a half late to work.
Holy shit.
I just completely forgot to set the alarm.
And last time I was in a theater with you, I accidentally fell asleep.
True story.
I felt so bad because I wanted to watch Dune for like the 80th time. And it was like 3 days, no sleep. I was hungry and then I ate food and I was on a couch in the dark with my feet up for a slow movie. It was a bad idea.
All right. It's my bedtime. We should wrap this up.
It's my bedtime, dude.